Sin don't just affect your behavior. You ain't just ratchet for no reason. Is that apart from the Spirit's work, you don't think right. Your perspectives are skewed. Your decisions are off. You think you are wise in your own eyes when God says that you are foolish. We need God. And out of this bad thinking, we look at the things that God has made, and instead of seeing them as being useful to worship Him, we see them as opportunities to worship them. This is why we have a whole generation of people who looks at the stars, and instead of seeing them as signs for seasons and for days and for nights, we give stars the power to determine our identity and our future reality. Do you understand how crazy it is to look at the sky, a created thing, to tell you who you are and where you're going to go? I'm an Aries. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a Pisces. No, sis, you're an image bearer of the living God. The stars, that's divination. The stars do not have the authority to define you. You even limit yourself by living inside of a category instead of going to God to say, God, tell me who I am. And I say this with as much gentleness as I can. Romans 1 would call you a fool for trusting in the stars to tell you who you are, more than the God who made you. But do you know why you do it? You do it because you're thirsty for identity and direction. And so your needs are showing up as thirst. And out of ignorance, you are grasping and reaching for anything that will supply what you are lacking, which is forming the basis of your idolatry. Our thirstiness will always manifest in our behavior. So you can't change the behavior without dealing with the thirst. And how do we do that? We help people see that the water they really need is the water that Jesus has.
You know where I'm going with this. This is actually pretty cool because I don't really have any problems with what she said. Oh my God, that is rare. If you listen to that message that she said, it's hard for me to really fault anything with the central message. It's pretty much on point. So this isn't about disagreeing with her. Obviously, I'm speaking more to the message and rhetoric of what she's saying, but I do want to note and point out a few things. First of all, we do see a persuasive definition of astrology. Given that these people have no experience reading astrology charts, studying astrology, or practicing astrology, it's not too off to consider that a definition of astrology would be persuasive given their experience of seeing other people talk about it or make stuff up about it. In other words, if I never practiced neurosurgery, if I never practiced medicine, if I've never seen a periodic table, if I've never done residency, if I've no experience learning proper medicine, and then on top of that, everyone who I see in my immediate environment says they're a doctor, is selling me snake oil salesman remedies, I'm going to them for help, and I'm only getting sick. I'm going to walk away from that experience thinking, you know what? Medicine is BS. I don't believe in medicine. I've never really met a doctor who actually heals people. Medicine just ruins people. In fact, medicine isn't right for you. And yet we don't say that. That's crazy. Just because someone is a crappy doctor, for some reason we don't suddenly say that medicine is bad. Actually, some people do, I think. But you get my point nonetheless. That being said, mentioning that this generation compared to other generations are obsessed with astrology is a fallacy. Research into human history will let you know that just like she's talking and saying this about astrology, Everybody from different faith groups has had something to say and criticize about their generation's time in practicing astrology. What I'm saying is that none of this is a new phenomenon. The whole phenomenon of people demonizing magic, astrology, has been happening since the BCE era. So the point of this video is, because of this misunderstanding of what astrology really is, people who share this rhetoric may not realize that practicing astrologers who really do this, we kind of say the same things that this fine young woman you heard say. And challenge me on this. I want you to find a practicing astrologer who will tell you that you're your zodiac sign. I'm talking about people who've practiced this for over 5-10 years, who teach it. Well, that's pretty much what we teach. We make sure you know that these are signs and stars, but that you're not a zodiac sign. It's an archetype you may represent. We also teach how, through the use of logical argument, this is why I go out of my way to talk at length about fallacies and logic, because if you don't operate with logic, you will begin to believe that the stars have a mystical effect on your life. Even going outright to call it divination when really it's a science. It's not really divination, it's just a science. The reason why I say it's a science is an astrologer predicting what's going to happen with the stars is not that much different than a meteorologist predicting the weather. But we don't say that when the meteorologist says it's going to rain and it rains, we don't call him a psychic. We don't say it's divination. So why do we say that with the space meteorologist? Unless you don't really know what it is you're talking about. So that's where I can say both her and I believe the same thing. You're not your zodiac sign. And obsessing over astrological placements to help you figure out what you're going to do isn't a practice of astrology. It's a misattribution of it, just like someone who says they're a doctor saying they practice medicine, but they've never even done residency. This is where I bring up that maybe the only issue with her message is that she's representing a persuasive definition of astrology to make it sound that anybody who practices astrology is doing so because we look to the stars for our identity. When in reality, a lot of it is just idiomatic languaging. Which is easier to say? I was born under the zodiac sign of Gemini, or I'm a Gemini. People who practice this know we're not actually the sign, but it's just easier to say, as it is a representation of an archetype. People who don't practice this and maybe may have picked it up on the internet and then run with it and say that they're their signs and proliferate these myths may do so just like a doctor who picks up homebrew remedies and has never really trained in medicine. That doesn't make medicine BS, just like it doesn't make astrology demonic. So, if you want to seek out authorities and sources who have no experience practicing astrology, you are welcome to, but it's only going to mislead you. I recommend stop going to these astrophysicists, scientists, religious experts who really don't know about what they're talking about. Study yourself and look up people who actually know what they mean. Because let's be honest, if I told you that chemistry is fake and then you asked me, have you ever seen the periodic table? Do you know what a valence electron is? Do you even know what the chemic elements are? If I said no, you would call me stupid. So how is that different from people saying stuff about astrology and they don't know what a trine is? They've never read a natal chart. That sounds exactly. Quoting Bible verses and using pathos to appeal to people's emotions does that. But, we stick with logos because, hey, that's what Christ is. Logos. Genesis 1:14-15. Just look up. Peace.